My name is Anna, and I'm 37 years old. I've been married to David for 19 years. He's much older than me. He's 59 now. We met when I was very young, and for a long time, I believed we were happy. We have two daughters. Our first, Emily, is 18 and about to finish school. Our second, Lily, is still a baby, only 1 year old. We live a quiet life. David goes to work, and I stay home to care for the house and the children. It's not a fancy life, but I never asked for much. I just wanted peace, love, and a safe home for my family. For many years, I thought we had that, but recently, everything changed. It started with a feeling, something deep in my heart. David began acting differently. He wasn't smiling like he used to. He came home late. He looked at his phone all the time but didn't talk to me much. I thought maybe he was just stressed at work. Still, the feeling didn't go away. One night, I tried to ask him, "David, is something wrong? Are you seeing someone?" He got angry right away. "You're always imagining things," he said sharply. "You're making a problem when there is none." But I wasn't imagining it. I knew something was wrong. I could feel the distance between us growing, like a wall I couldn't break through. So one night, while he was asleep, I looked at his phone. I was nervous. My hands were shaking. I didn't want to be the kind of wife who checks her husband's phone, but I needed answers. David woke up and caught me. He yelled, "What are you doing? You have no right to go through my things." I was scared. I said, "I just need to know the truth." He didn't explain anything. He only got more angry. He left the room and didn't talk to me for the rest of the night. But I couldn't stop there. I needed to know what was happening. The next day, I checked his phone bill. I saw one number again and again. Calls at all times of the day, sometimes even late at night. He was calling someone almost every day. I called the number. A woman answered. Her voice was calm but cold. "Yes, I know David," she said, as if it was nothing. "We're close, but that's your problem, not mine." My heart sank. My worst fear was true. She was the same age as me. She had a daughter, and she was married too, but she didn't seem to care. That moment crushed me. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding my phone in one hand and my chest with the other, trying to stop the pain from rising too fast. I talked to David again. This time, I looked him in the eye and said, "I know. I talked to her." He didn't deny it. He just said, "I'll end it when I want to. You can't tell me what to do." I cried that night harder than I had in years. He had done this before, right after Emily was born. I forgave him back then because I believed in our marriage, and I thought he made a mistake. But now, with Lily still in diapers, he was doing it again. The man I built a life with, the man I trusted, was spending his love on someone else. And the worst part? I didn't know how to leave. I didn't know what would happen to me or my daughters. All I knew was that everything I thought was safe no longer was. After I found out about David's affair, something in our home changed forever. The walls were the same. The baby toys still lay scattered on the floor. The sound of little Lily's giggles still filled the rooms. But everything felt different, cold, quiet, and heavy, like a storm waiting to break. I wanted to believe that David would realize what he was doing and stop. I hoped he would see how much pain he was causing. But instead of feeling sorry, he grew more distant, more cold. He stopped coming home at night. When I asked where he had been, he said, "I was working late," but there were no messages, no missed calls, no concern, just silence. I stayed up every night waiting, wondering if he'd walk through the door. Some nights he did. Other nights he didn't come home at all. And when he did come home, he was angry. He would say things like, "Why do you keep asking me questions?" Or "You're always nagging me." I felt like a stranger in my own house. I asked him once, gently, "David, can we take a trip together? Just a short break, for us, for the kids." He looked at me and said, "No, I want to go alone." I smiled weakly and said okay, but inside I was breaking. I couldn't understand how a man who once held my hand in the delivery room, who once brought me flowers just because, could now look at me like I was a burden. I couldn't return to work yet. Lily was still too small, and even if I wanted to go back, we didn't have help with the children. David knew I was stuck. He knew I needed him, for money, for support, for stability. And I think that made him feel powerful. We had a loan for our apartment. My name was on the papers, but we were supposed to pay for it together. I handled the bills, and I noticed we were short on money more and more. One day, I sat down and checked our bank account, and that's when I saw it. Payments for restaurants I had never visited, gifts I never received, expensive ones. The same account we used to buy baby formula and school supplies was now being used for his other life. For her. I felt sick. The man who once rocked Emily to sleep, who kissed my forehead and said we'd grow old together, was spending our money on another woman. When I confronted him, he just shrugged. "Don't worry about it," he said. "I'll handle it." But I was worried. I was worried about the rent, about our groceries, about Emily's future, about little Lily's diapers, and he didn't care. Not anymore. He acted like I didn't matter, like the children didn't matter, like his promises never existed. I tried talking to Emily. She was always close to her dad, but now she was angry too. "Why is he doing this to you, Mom?" she asked me once. "Why is he acting like we don't exist?" I had no answer. I just hugged her and told her I loved her. I could see the sadness in her eyes, the disappointment, the shame. She didn't want to see her father that way, and I didn't want her to carry this pain, but she was old enough to understand. We were all hurting, and David didn't seem to care. Our house still had the same windows, the same furniture, the same pictures on the walls, but it no longer felt like a home. It felt like a place where love used to live, and now it was just me and my daughters, trying to hold each other together. After David started staying out more, I began to notice another problem: money. Every month we had less and less left over. At first, I thought maybe prices had gone up or bills were just piling up, but then it got worse. I couldn't buy enough food. I had to stretch every meal. Even Lily's baby items, diapers, formula, medicine, became difficult to manage. Something didn't feel right. I asked David about it one evening. "We don't have enough left at the end of the month. Where's the money going?" He barely looked at me. "Don't worry, I'm handling it." But he wasn't. I knew it in my heart. So one day, while Lily was sleeping and Emily was at school, I logged into our bank account. My hands were cold. I didn't want to see anything bad, but I needed the truth. And there it was. Transaction after transaction, expensive restaurants, shopping centers, perfume stores, gift shops, money spent in places I had never been, money spent on things I never saw. It wasn't hard to guess who it was for. He was spending our family's money on her. I stared at the screen with tears filling my eyes. That money was supposed to buy groceries. It was for our rent, for Emily's books, for Lily's doctor visits. He used it to buy her gifts. I took screenshots of everything and closed the laptop. My whole body was shaking. I felt like I had just been robbed, not of money, but of love, respect, and trust. That night, I didn't sleep. When he came home, I wanted to shout, to scream, but I didn't. I just asked calmly, "David, why are you spending so much money? Our account is almost empty." He got angry right away. "Stop checking my account. You're spying on me again." "I'm not spying," I said. "I'm trying to survive." He stormed out of the room. I sat in the kitchen and cried quietly into a towel so the kids wouldn't hear me. That week, Emily asked why we weren't ordering takeout anymore like we used to on weekends. I just smiled and said, "We're trying to save a little." I didn't want her to know the full truth. Not yet, but I could tell she already suspected. Even Lily could feel something was wrong. She clung to me more, her tiny hands always reaching for mine, her big eyes watching every move I made. And me, I started to feel sick. Not just heartbroken, but physically sick. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. My chest was heavy every day, like someone had placed a stone inside it. I was dizzy all the time and couldn't focus on simple tasks. Finally, I went to the doctor. He ran a few tests and looked at me kindly. "You're not sick," he said gently. "You're stressed. Very, very stressed. You need to rest." I smiled sadly. Rest? How do you rest when your home is falling apart? When your husband is spending your money on another woman? When your children are watching everything and you have no idea how to fix it? Rest felt like a luxury I didn't deserve. So I went home, held Lily in my arms, and continued like always, one day at a time. But now, something inside me had changed. I was no longer confused. I was no longer wondering what was happening. Now I knew. David wasn't just cheating on me emotionally, he was destroying our family financially, piece by piece, without shame. And somehow, I had to find a way to protect what was left, even if I didn't know how yet. When you're going through pain, you can often hide it from the world. You smile when you're supposed to. You nod, you say, "I'm fine," and people believe you. But children see everything, especially when they're old enough to understand. Emily, my older daughter, used to be the light of our home. She was bubbly, cheerful, and always full of questions. She loved talking to her dad, watching movies with him, asking him for advice. She looked up to him like a hero. But slowly, that light started to fade. She began spending more time in her room. Her laughter was rare. Her eyes always looked tired, not from lack of sleep, but from carrying the sadness she didn't know how to express. One afternoon, I found her sitting by the window, hugging her knees. I sat beside her. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" I asked gently. She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "Why is Dad doing this to us?" I didn't know what to say. I wanted to protect her, but she already knew. She had heard our arguments, seen the missed dinners, watched the empty chair at the table night after night. She wasn't a child anymore, and yet in that moment, she looked so small, so broken. I hugged her tight. "I don't know why," I said honestly, "but I know none of this is your fault." She buried her face into my shoulder and cried. It was the first time she had let it out, and when she did, I realized just how much she had been holding inside. Emily stopped seeing her friends. She said she didn't feel like talking to anyone. At school, her teachers noticed a change. They said she seemed distracted, less involved. She told me once, "I'm embarrassed, Mom. I don't want people to know what's going on at home." That broke my heart. She felt ashamed of her own family. And what about Lily, our youngest? She didn't understand words yet, but even she could feel the tension. She cried more than usual. She clung to me every moment. She didn't want to be put down. Her little eyes would search the room every time she heard the front door, hoping to see her father. But when David came home, he barely looked at her. He didn't ask about Emily. He didn't offer to help with Lily. He just walked in, tired and irritated, and expected quiet. If I asked where he had been, he got angry. If Emily tried to talk to him, he brushed her off. He had become a stranger in our lives, and still part of me kept hoping that maybe he would wake up one day and see the damage he was causing, hoping he'd remember the birthdays, the holidays, the nights we stayed up talking about baby names, hoping he'd care enough to fix what was breaking. But with each passing day, that hope got smaller. One evening, Emily sat beside me on the couch. We were watching a movie, but she wasn't really paying attention. She looked at me and said, "I miss how things used to be." Tears filled my eyes. "Me too. I wish he'd come back," she said. "Not just to the house, but to us." That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. David was sleeping on the other side, facing away from me. The silence between us was louder than any argument, and in that silence, I realized something. I could handle the pain, but watching my daughter suffer? That was something I couldn't bear. Even after everything David did, I still found myself missing him. Not the man who shouted or ignored me, not the man who spent our money on another woman, but the man I married, the man who once held my hand and promised to love me forever. I didn't recognize him anymore, but deep in my heart, a part of me still searched for the version of him I once knew. That made the pain even harder. Some mornings, I would wake up and forget, just for a moment, that things had changed. I'd turn to his side of the bed and remember the way he used to kiss me good morning. But now that side was often cold, or worse, occupied by a man who didn't speak, didn't care, and barely looked at me. I asked myself over and over, why do I still love someone who broke me? The truth is, love doesn't disappear just because someone hurts you. Love is complicated. It grows slowly, and it leaves slowly too. I tried to keep going for Emily and Lily. They were my reason to get out of bed. They needed me, and even though I felt weak, I had to be strong for them. Some days were better. I started doing small things to feel human again. I painted my nails. I cooked my favorite meals. I talked to my neighbor, Nina, who reminded me that I was still a person, still worthy of joy. But other days were hard. There were days I sat alone at night and cried into a pillow. Days I looked at family photos and wondered how something that looked so happy could fall apart so quietly. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to disappear and start over. But I couldn't. Not yet. David still came home, but not really. His heart was somewhere else. He barely helped with the kids. He didn't ask how my day was. He didn't even notice when I cut my hair short or wore a new dress. He was in the same house, but I was alone. My best friend said, "Anna, you have to let go. You can't keep waiting for someone who doesn't want to stay." I knew she was right, but letting go of someone you love, even someone who hurt you, is not easy. It's like trying to walk with your feet stuck in mud. You know you should move, but you can't. I tried to talk to David again. "Do you want to fix this?" I asked him one night. "Do you want our family back?" He looked at me blankly. "I don't know," he said. That answer said everything. Not yes, not no, just nothing. It broke me, but it also gave me clarity. I couldn't keep waiting. I couldn't keep begging for love that wasn't being given. I couldn't raise my daughters in a house full of silence, anger, and sadness. They deserved better. I deserved better. So I started planning. I talked to a counselor. I applied for online work from home jobs. I opened a small savings account, just mine. I didn't tell David. I didn't argue anymore. I simply started building a quiet path to something new. I still loved him, but I was beginning to love myself more. One night, Emily came into my room. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "You're the strongest person I know." I cried in her arms, not from sadness, but from something else, something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know if David will ever change. Maybe he won't. But I'm no longer waiting for him to rescue us. Because I'm learning to rescue myself. For Emily, for Lily, and finally, for me.